Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Jordan and Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know.
Jordan and Keith.
From pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
We hope you're ready because you're right on time for Captain Keith commanding the troops Jordan Mariano through the Music Review Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That only took 6 takes.
Yeah, no.
That's all.
Take 82, we got it. All right, now that the intro's gone, let's do the episode.
Yes.
Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast with Jordan, Keith, and Mariano. That's me. So we've got a great show for you guys today, featuring The Mountain Will Fall with DJ Shadow. And what's that other one, Keith?
Maxwell's Black Summer's Night, Part 2 of the trilogy.
All right.
Yes.
Can't wait for that third one.
I know, right? I know.
This is going to be a fun one. What do you guys want to start with?
So we can save Maxwell for last. You want to do that?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So go with DJ Shadow.
Sounds good. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. I know you've been a big fan of this one, Mariano, so you want to start off with it?
Oh, yeah. It was forgettable.
Ouch.
This one...
I call this the return of music podcast.
An air of disappointment left his mouth as he spoke.
This one was more of like an elevator music-y background album than Blink-182's album.
Really?
But like at a cool building, though, right? Like
no,
an elevator for
the building was a little bit cooler.
Okay, maybe the building was a little bit more hip.
Yeah,
but the other building had more character.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Blink-182. Well, anyway, it just
okay.
It wasn't like it wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. It was whatever.
You guys want to see how long we can take this building metaphor? Maybe we can get to the end of the episode just talking about buildings.
So for those of you who don't know, DJ Shadow. Hip-hop / electronica DJ, musician, producer, artist. He's famous for his first album called Introducing, which came out basically like 20 years ago.
Yeah. A great album. If anyone's not heard it, check out Introducing.
From the tiny amount that I heard, it was a lot better.
Yeah, so... okay.
A lot better.
And so this album is... this is his first album in 5 years, DJ Shadow.
But not his best album, except for maybe it's also his best album in 5 years, but not in his entire discography.
Ah, man. I mean, you know what?
You think this is better than Introducing?
No, not at all.
Yeah, there we go.
No, his first 2 albums, Introducing and The Private Press, those are good. Those are definite records worth picking up. I definitely highly recommend those 2 CDs. This CD, I mean, it's good to hear him back, but I felt like some of it was missing some soul. I felt like the production could have been a lot more soulful than what it was. The Nobody Speaks song featuring Run the Jewels, that's just the new group comprised of Killer Mike of Outkast fame and LP from Company Flow. Yeah, that's their new group.
You know what this album sounded like to me?
What?
Have you guys ever been to like City Walk, Universal Studios in LA?
No, I haven't.
Well,
I want to go, but I just haven't been yet.
Well, when you go, there's lots of musicians just kind of hanging out outside. And they just play their instruments. And there's this guy who has like this giant drum set. And it's really good, but it's just drums. And that's kind of what it came down to me. It was, it's not bad. It's just lacking. Like it doesn't make me feel anything.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I understand. I understand. The album is just... Yeah, it was
like you're glad it's there, but it's not. It doesn't define the scene for you.
It's so little. Like I'm not even
background.
I'm not like upset that it's there, but I'm not even glad it's there. It's just there.
Yeah. Okay.
When I heard it, I was just like, oh, okay.
So this album literally does nothing for you.
Yeah.
You don't like it enough so much where you can't even hate it because it just doesn't matter that much. Okay, that's strong feelings. Yeah, that's definitely.
Mm-hmm. We're listening.
It's really powerful. Yeah, no, I agree. There was one song that I thought was really fun though. It was with Run the Jewels.
Dude, yeah.
Nobody speak.
You got to do that over, dude. You weren't even at the microphone at all.
I was looking at that real quick. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, so there was one song that I really liked for it was Nobody Speak with Run the Jewels. That was a fun one. It was it was nice. I'm glad that was there. That was the steel drum song that guy played that I really was into. But
that one was the best one in my opinion. But even that one was like okay.
I agree. I agree. I think he could do better, but I think he's been kind of. I think DJ Shadow needs to have somebody produce him and push him to go better, to go farther than where he's gone,
and to go bigger, because a lot of the songs started to sound kind of similar.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, to me, they were missing. They weren't that soulful to me.
Yeah.
No.
Introducing is a soulful record. I think Private Press is a soulful record. This was. I like the cover art, but
cover art. Sure.
Yeah. But I wasn't a fan. Yeah, for 5 years of a wait, this could have been a much better record than what it was.
But that cover art, though, right,
I know.
guys?
Just buy the album for the cover art.
It was a fun cover art. I think we can all agree on that.
So
yeah, it was. And again, it wasn't bad. It was just okay.
Yeah, it could be better than what it was.
A lot better.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. So.
I think it was too. It was a bit of a letdown, but there were some highlights, and with every album that we do, I try to imagine a scenario where this album is going to be necessarily like the perfect time to listen to it.
When you're falling asleep.
When you're falling asleep, that's actually kind of accurate. I was about to say that this is something that this is powering down, because you don't have to pay attention too much with it. You probably won't pay attention too much with it. I mean, it is beyond it mainly being electronica for most of the album. It's not something that really, it's not electronica that's really going to hype you up. It's really something that you can put in the background that won't affect anything. Which sounds once again like a terrible review, but I guess it is a bad review. I guess I just don't like I didn't like the album. I liked the song, the first one I heard with Run the Jewels, and I kind of had a hope
Nobody
that
Speak.
Nobody Speak. I thought I was going to like the album. Like, okay, this is a good sign. But as things kept going on, it was hard to stay engaged with it. It really was.
I agree with you. And Nobody Speak is like a takeoff of Nobody Move, Nobody Get Hurt, which is like a famous like reggae, hook.
Right.
So yeah, but this album makes me appreciate. There's a rapper named Odyssey who's also a producer, and he's got a new instrumental album out called The Odd Tape Sessions. So, and that instrumental album was, it's soulful and it's jazzy, and I felt like DJ Shadow could have done something like that. And I know he has it in him.
I was going to say he's done.
Yeah, I just don't know what it was or what his take was with this record. So I felt like it was missing some soul. That's my thing. The drums were okay, but it wasn't organic as it should have been.
I think that's a good way to put it. It didn't feel organic, and it was missing. And if anyone's heard Introducing, which by the way, if we can come out of this podcast, I mean, with any kind of review for DJ Shadow, don't listen to this album, especially if it's your first time, but don't necessarily rule him out. Because Introducing, it was an album that had a lot of energy and a lot of heart, and it's something that you can keep going back to.
And the Private Press is a good album, too. So I think DJ Shadow is a very talented cat, but even DJs and producers need other producers to help them, to help push them.
Yeah.
Because they get so used to art, being an architect for someone else and drawing for someone else, sometimes they don't realize they need someone to help them draw as well. So and it's interesting to me because I feel like most of the great producers are now in hip hop where they used to be in rock 20 years ago. And I feel like a lot of these cats today need a producer who's not a yes person, who's going to be like, no, you could do better, and get that out of them. And I think that's what he's missing.
I think another DJ. I think if DJ Shadow did a few songs with like Skrillex,
that could be kind of insulting. I don't care for Skrillex. That's just me.
No.
I don't know about insulting, but
I don't know about insulting.
That's your opinion with it. I think Skrillex.
But that's definitely my opinion.
Because
because I don't care for Skrillex at all.
The reason I bring up Skrillex is he's definitely big, and he makes his own, like he produces his own songs. So I mean,
that would be an interesting collaboration. Honestly, I didn't like Skrillex either until I saw him live in Voodoo Fest in New Orleans, and really, that's what I became a big fan of him. I listened to him the entire ride back to my hometown. So, I mean, I think that would be fun. Regardless of what you feel about Skrillex, those are two very different types of energy in both their albums.
Or if you put a
to see those kind of come together would be a really interesting listen.
Or how about this then? No offense to Run the Jewels, but if you put a better rapper on there, like what if you put Mos Def?
Yeah.
Well, see, my issue with Run the Jewels isn't the rapping. I mean, it's more possibly the production, because LP does a lot of production, and I don't really care for.
But like independent rappers, they're into their own production. So if Mos Def was on the album, other than the actual rapping, it would have sounded different. Is what I'm trying to say, because he would have had some more input than just the rapping.
Okay, so I guess what can we draw from this? Don't listen to this album, but don't give up on DJ Shadow.
Yeah, listen. If you're gonna buy some DJ Shadow, buy his other album.
Yeah, if you're gonna give this a chance, don't let this be the first DJ Shadow album you listen to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I would love to see a collaboration between him and Odyssey, or him and DJ High Tech or Pete Rock. People who are known for soulful jazzy production, or DJ Premier. I'd like to see him do something like that.
Odyssey and High Tech, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that could be. Dude, you need to. Yeah. You want to know about Pete Rock, bro.
Okay, so that's something to check out too.
Yeah, so
I guess that's all of our time right now until our break. But when we come back, we're going to go ahead and get into our other album, Maxwell, Black Summer's Night, the second in the trilogy. So you guys stick around for that.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Now we just covered DJ Shadows, and now we're going to go ahead and talk about Maxwell's new album, Black Summer's Night. So here we are.
Second of the trilogy.
Second of the trilogy. We've got one more left.
Yes.
So anyways, for the second one right here, what did you guys think of it?
I liked it.
I liked it a lot. The more I listened to it, the more I liked it.
I did too. I liked it a lot.
I'll agree to that too. The more I listened to it, the more... Because at first I liked it, but then I started liking it more and more.
Exactly.
He's a great singer. That's the thing that popped out to me above everything else.
Yes.
Is he can sing.
Yes, he can.
Right?
He can, and it was just fun to listen to as well. It was very groovy. Can I still say that? Is that word relevant enough? I've never...
It is now, buddy.
Yeah, okay,
exactly.
all right.
It is now,
we're
brother.
bringing groovy back.
That's
it was
right.
groovy.
Yes.
It was funkadelic. I'm pushing it. It felt so smooth to listen to. It just felt like, okay, here we go. Like I immediately put on some sunglasses, just started bobbing my head, and the room fogged up around me. That's what this album did.
Yeah. And it literally, the more you hear it, the more you start liking it. It really does grow on you that way.
And the cool thing about it is, at least for me personally, it didn't take more than one listen to instantly want to listen to it again. There's been a couple albums here that I've given a positive review to, but it wouldn't have happened if I just gave it one listen. And it's something that I appreciated with. Right. Now, this was something that I was able to easily interact with it, and it didn't feel very hard to just keep holding it. And as it appreciated instantly the more I listened. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
I just didn't have to warm myself up to it. Like it was very instantly likable, and it continued to get more likable, like a snowball that's already had a lot of snow in its ball.
Right, and he's been around for like 20 years doing his thing. So.
Yeah,
his first album is Urban Hang Suite, which is a great record too.
You know what this album kind of reminded me of?
What's that?
Like some older school Usher.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
His voice,
really, because he has a higher falsetto than Usher.
He does, but not that they sounded similar, like in such a literal sense. But it just, when I was listening to this album, what popped into my head of like similar songs was Usher, like older Usher.
Would you say it's the emotion behind it, or would you say it was the styling?
It's the styling and the pace of his songs.
Yeah.
And maybe not like how the voice sounds, but they're both good singers. So when I think of a song of that kind of pace, it's slower, it's more like romantic, and and this guy can sing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, who's that again? Oh yeah, that's right, Usher.
Okay.
And that's kind of what came to mind for me.
Okay.
But he also has a more like bluesy sound than Usher.
You think that when you say bluesy,
like jazzy,
you mean that there's kind of more depressing, or
I meant jazzy? Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, more like a jazzy sound.
Well, what's jazzy to you?
Jazzier to me was his voice is a little raspier. His it's almost a little like Usher's is more kind of bouncy, poppy.
So it's the styling of jazz and not the feeling of it.
Well, the styling creates the feeling of it, is what I'm saying. Like it's got a more jazzy feel to me.
Well, there's also this contemporary R&B, almost smooth jazzy flow, smooth jazz-esque flow to the record.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was. Exactly.
Yeah, but he makes it work.
Right.
You know,
It's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, because smooth jazz can.
Do you get what I mean though? How Usher's more like top 40, like popish.
Well, see, I guess I don't, because whenever I think of Usher, I think of like one of Michael Jackson's musical kids. So I think of Maxwell a little bit different.
That's an old school way to think of Usher, I think.
Well, I mean, because that's kind of
nothing wrong with it. Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
That's kind of like him and Chris Brown have that in common. That's
yeah.
kind of you see that obvious influence. But popular. I mean, he's popular. It's just that Maxwell's R&B seems to be. I mean, I guess him and Usher had that in common, where they're grown men singing these love songs. But Maxwell's style is a little bit different in the sense that it's a little bit more jazzy.
Right.
He puts the suits on. He's got that old school, I'm going to put the suit on.
You see what I'm saying?
And swoon you.
Exactly.
Whereas Usher's not really putting the suits on, at least not yet.
Right.
But he's dancing, so you really can't. Unless you're like Michael.
You could.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, because this album was just, it was a nice, pleasant surprise. So it really was. I liked the whole thing. When I first played it on, I was like,
Were you worried about it not turning out too well, Keith?
Yeah, I was for a second, but
you're a bigger Maxwell fan than us. Yeah, you had more hopes and fears. Huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was like, well, I knew I was going to hear it. I knew I was going to get it because I was curious.
Yeah,
because I have all his records, or at one point I did. So, and I wanted to see what he was doing, and it's just a nice record. It's totally different from his first album, Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite, which is a great record too. But it's different in a good way. I mean, you see the growth. So when you go from that record to this record, the production is very different. There's still that jazzy feel to an extent, and it still works. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I dig it. So yeah, I like it. I don't really have any complaints. The first 3 tracks come out swinging for me, and just keeps on going from there.
Yeah, it was a lot
of fun. All the ways
fun.
Love Can Feel.
Oh,
there it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say it kept going. I was like, you know what? I didn't think it started strong and ended weak. I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I said it just kept going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was an album that I think it wasn't that contemplative, but it didn't need to be. It's not that. It wasn't that kind of album. It wasn't something where it's going to like really provoke thought. It's going to be something just going to get down to.
Exactly.
Does it make you want to make?
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's
careful, Keith.
I know.
Careful.
It's not.
The
way I would phrase what you just said, because I totally understand what you just said, was it's not so much a thought-provoking; it's a feeling-provoking album.
Yes, that's definitely well said.
I was going to say, Dirty Birds. Does it make you want to go make a romantic dinner for somebody when you listen to this record?
It most
that's what I was
definitely does, and
that's
I would totally
Dirty Bird, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
You can't jump the ship that you're on with me, Mark.
Excuse me, sir. I was never on such a ship with you. I would definitely put this up there, way up there, in fact, with, like, I'm making dinner for someone.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think some of these songs were made
to
be listened to while you cut vegetables. I think some of these songs were
because
just
it's
made.
bouncy.
It has that romance,
exactly.
a romantic feel to it, right? And we're 3 guys talking about romance. There it is.
Exactly.
So he did
not weird at all.
Right?
Total experts. Yeah.
Should we hug it out, or?
We can't with all the equipment. We have to do it afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a great excuse.
Yeah, that's the extent of how romantic we are. Whenever we finish a thought, I guess it's time to hug it out, right, honey?
Wait, but now I have a question for you guys, because that was a great way to put it and a great way to describe it. So give me some other albums that you'd love to like play for a romantic dinner.
Yeah, so this one, the When Harry Met Sally soundtrack, I like that album a lot too, actually, believe it or not.
I don't know. I couldn't give you something off the bat.
Prince's second album called Prince with I Want to Be Your Lover on it. I think that's a good album.
I can see that. But there's nothing that would immediately come to mind.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mariano? Frank Ocean? Is that what you were about to say?
Ooh, Frank Ocean's a good one. I wasn't about to say that, though.
I feel like
it's a good album, but it's a romance album.
No, I think it could be a romance album, definitely, but it's not something that I can cook dinner for. If we're getting if there's no like metaphors around it, if it's just cooking dinner, I think that there's something about Maxwell's album, that little bit of bounce that kind of keeps things going.
Exactly. I was going to say, because maybe Keith has more experience in this than me, is there a such thing as like too romantic? Like, I feel like Marvin Gaye would be too much for making dinner. You know, I like how this album, it there.
Depends on what record you're listening to.
But do you see what I'm getting at?
But I think what
Marvin,
makes it an album that you can do this to, like you can have such a specific activity, and this album could be perfect for it, or just any activity that you have to kind of think while doing it, is that this is a feeling engaging album. It's not a thinking.
Yeah. Or picking up your date, on your way to dinner or to the movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely has a nice love feel and vibe,
right? But it's
that makes
bouncy,
you feel comfortable and relaxed.
But it's like upbeat enough too.
Yes.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a great like blend.
Yeah, right. So if Drake is making music for you to ride to, Maxwell is making music for you.
For when you get there
to vibe and love.
Exactly.
To. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good advertisement right there.
Yeah,
right?
There it is. So yeah, mission accomplished, sir. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. So I guess that's we're going to go commercial break. I think that's a pretty solid review. But when we do come back, we're going to be doing a wrap up on Maxwell's Black Summer Nights and DJ Shadow's The Mountain Will Fall.
That's correct.
So.
Yes, and now mind you, Maxwell's last 2 albums are called Black Summer's Night. The second one is Black Summer's Night with Black the small B, and Summers and caps.
Right.
So that's the difference, and the record cover is different. He's standing, whereas the first part of the trilogy is just a headshot of him, his face. So 2 different records, same name.
And Black Summer's Night, the first one, it's Black, all capitalized Summer's Night. This one is Black Summer's Night. So
there you go.
I guess the third one we'll be seeing Black Summer's Night.
Yeah,
so.
I can only assume.
Right?
But until then, we digress. Commercial break. We come back. We'll be doing the wrap up. See you guys soon.
Yes.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for listening to the GSMC Music Review Podcast with Captain Keith, Jordan, and Mariano, and we're just doing our wrap-up on Maxwell's Black Summer's Night, and that's Volume 2 of the trilogy.
Yes.
Right.
Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
Exactly.
No.
Black Summer's Night.
When you said Maxwell and you left it alone for a second, I thought, say it, Mariano. Say Silver's Hammer.
As well as DJ Shadow's The Mountain Will Fall.
Yes.
All right.
The weaker of the DJ Shadows album discography, whole just group of things.
Yes.
Agreed.
Definitely. So
that's the most articulate thing I've ever said.
Possibly.
Yes. Okay, so I guess we can wrap up with some fantastic questions. I'm going to go ahead and just throw them in top of my head here. Desert Island. I think we can all agree this is almost as simple as just yes, it's
Maxwell.
definitely
By the way,
Maxwell.
this is Maxwell's first album in 7 years.
Wow.
Really? So he had 2 extra years. Maybe that's why his album is so much better.
Right?
We'll never know.
I know.
But
what's your question?
It's something. All right, here we go. So you can you say, Mariano, is this really your first Maxwell album that you're really engaging in, you're really listening to? Which is understandable. He hasn't been relevant for a while. Do you feel like this is going to want you to go back and listen to his other stuff?
That's a great question, actually.
That is a great question, and yes.
Okay.
Right on, yeah.
I think I would even go so far as to say that if I have some time, because I have some other things to do on my way home, I'll probably have it done by the time I get home.
Okay,
today.
so you
Right
really,
on.
in all seriousness, and Keith, feel free to say no about this, because, you can still like the album and still say no to this, but you as a person, you've really loved Maxwell, right?
Yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah, I don't love him, but I like him. Yeah.
But you're a big fan.
Sure.
Do you think that you might revisit albums before, or do you think that this is just something that you really love? You might listen to this some more. This doesn't kind of reignite your passion for Maxwell.
Actually, it did reignite it.
Really?
It did.
Have you already been listening to old Maxwell songs since then?
When I knew we were going to buy this record, I had to go out and I rebought the first album again.
Okay.
Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite.
Very cool.
I rebought that, and I'm still at home trying to find my other. I have so much music at home. I have to. It takes like maybe an hour to find something sometimes.
You have all those physical copies. You got to do what the young kids do nowadays.
Well,
steal it. No, I'm kidding. Please don't, people. I meant download it.
That was a joke. That was a joke. He did not mean that.
We're going to open up the show with a disclaimer.
I know. But okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go back and and revisit his other albums. And as a musical artist, that's like one of the best things you can do is when you can put something out new and get people interested in your catalog all over again because of what you just put out.
I agree.
That's awesome. I mean, you want to be that artist,
And that's perfect. And that I'm glad you said that because that's going to lead up to my next question. It might be a little bit too obvious to you guys, but now regarding DJ Shadow, I want you to go ahead and be very honest about it. Mariano, have you heard DJ Shadow's work before this? So This is your first time engaging in DJ Shadow's albums, right?
Right.
Now, we can all agree it wasn't a great album, but you did hear a little bit of a teaser for introducing.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that you want to go back and try DJ Shadow, or do you think this has kind of ruined the experience?
Well, I can't say it ruined the experience because I wouldn't judge one album off of another.
But that's fair.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Keith, if I didn't already have Introducing, I wouldn't go find it.
Okay, so
but I have it, so I will listen to it,
and
in its entirety.
It's
because
good
if I like it, then I will go to his other albums.
Yeah, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to rebuy A Private Press.
Okay,
so his second record. So
yeah, and Introducing it's not so much of an underground, but it's been a big success. I'm sure there's a few guys with beards that frequent coffee shops that have that album on vinyl.
But it kind of was an underground.
I think it was underground
success.
at first.
It's kind of a weird record.
It's a weird hybrid, right?
Yeah, it is.
But one thing does, I think it's safe to say, it's kind of stood the test of time. There's a lot of people that still access that album.
Yes.
While it may not necessarily be something, someone that had never heard of DJ Shadow before would instantly know. They would recognize it if you kind of know the right groups.
And there's going to be some people who do like this record. So. Like I said, I just wanted more, and I feel like he could do more. So with what he gave us, so DJ Shadow still is a very interesting artist. So I'm not saying that he's not. So I definitely recommend and encourage people to go check out his back catalog, and even the album before this one, because I'm gonna go back and see if the album before this one is any good, because I don't know. So
I'm more interested to go back and listen to some DJ Shadow features.
Really?
Well,
I want to give him that chance.
And there is a side project he did called Uncle, which was pretty cool. UNKLE.
Okay, then I will check out.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Then I'll check that out.
Yeah, so check that out too.
That was a while ago, huh?
It was. So I think he's a great musician, producer. Like I said, I wanted more. I wanted it to be more jazzy, more soulful. Yeah. Didn't have a problem with your drums, but I just felt like this could be more soulful. And I've seen you do it before.
I think the best word in the world for this album, it just felt unfinished.
Yeah,
it was great. It was great drums. It was great what it was, but it lacked too much to make what I would consider a real album. And so I think features will give him those missing pieces, and I think he could be a great piece of a team.
And I hate to say it, it's not that the mountain will fall; it's like the music falls.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but the music.
If anything, the mountain fell a little flat.
Keith said something very true. This now some people may like this album, and this is our opinion. That's something that we have to keep in mind.
Yes.
But the thing is that I really can't help but stress to you, everyone. I mean, DJ Shadow, despite what we're saying right now, I think he deserves us to make it very clear that this is an artist worth pursuing. I'm glad
definitely
that you're going to give it another chance, Mariano. And in a future episode, I'd love to hear an update what you think of him as an artist.
Okay.
Period. Too.
And if it wasn't for this record, I probably would have not thought about it, but I'm going to go back and buy the second album again because I don't think I have it anymore. So I want to get the Private Press, his second album, because there's a song on there that is so cool with these vocals, and I just can't remember what it's called, but it's just amazing.
You see what I'm saying?
It might even be called the Private Press.
And I think a lot of my negative review doesn't just come from what I felt like the album lacked. I felt a lot of it came from what I know the album could be, which was a big disappointment.
Exactly. Let me be clear with this. It's this album. The only reason I didn't like it, there was nothing in it that I didn't like. I just wish that there was more in it that I did like.
Yeah.
It's right on.
Exactly.
That's spot on.
Right. There's nothing in it that's bad.
I don't know what else to say. There it is.
There's nothing in there that ruins it. There's nothing in there that's bad. It's just
right on.
There's just not much in it, period.
Yeah. So, and if you're going to do an instrumental record, so when you do an instrumental record, you are not obligated to do a jazz record. Don't get me wrong. You're not obligated to do a classical record. But when you do an instrumental record, you gotta make it interesting. You gotta make sure it's multi-layered and that you have feelings, that not just one feeling, not just one flow coming through it. You wanna touch and reach people, their senses throughout every song.
Exactly.
If you're doing an instrumental, you have to make the instrumentals powerful because you've got nothing else going for the album. They have to be strong enough to stand on their own. I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
Yes.
So,
and these just weren't.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about the artist. It just says it's a weaker album. And
I'm going to go back to his catalog, and like I said, I'm going to check out the album before this one. And like I said, I'm going to rebuy Private Press, and I'm looking forward to you listening to Introducing, because I think you're going to love it.
Yeah, I think so too, and I've got high hopes for it. But also, if we can go run back to Maxwell,
I was going to say,
yes.
I'd like to go ahead and say it's a very impressive feat
worth
that
the wait.
An artist has been here as long as he has.
Yes,
he's still going just as strong, and it's still an album that can be added to the collection and still be just as essential, just as vital.
I think essential is the word for this album. I think this is going to be in rotation for date night. Music.
I think it's going to be in rotation with some of the best of Maxwell. Which, now, despite a lot of you can keep an artist can make an album that's going to be better than the last one, but to have such an enormous track record where you can be in this game for so long and yet you're still coming out with things that were just as worthy of a listen as some of your first stuff.
There it is.
It's something to be said to that. So,
and you mentioned something earlier about albums that other romantic albums that are equivalent.
Yes.
Any of Sade's stuff.
Ooh, Sade. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Any of her stuff.
Elephant in the Room, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I even have a story. I went to a Sade concert with my girlfriend at the time. On the way to the concert, we were getting into an argument. And when we got to the concert, it was all love after that.
I was going to say, I was like, girls arguing with you? What's going on?
No more arguing. That was the power of Sade's music.
All right.
We got to the concert, and it was all love.
I like the comparison of Sade. I didn't
Yeah. Yeah. So
I want to hear more about this argument. Do we have 5 more minutes, guys?
What in the world do you argue with Captain Keith about?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot.
Captain Keith. That's your radio name. I like it.
I like it.
So I guess that's all the time we have.
Yes, it is. Thank everyone for listening. So, Jordan, what do we have coming up in the next music podcast?
I believe for the next music podcast, we're going to be listening to Snoop Dogg's new album, and along with that, we're going to be taking on the Avett Brothers finally. So,
yes,
I mentioned that before. We're this time we mean it.
Yes. And there's another cat called Graf. We're going to check him out, too. He opened up for Royce the 5'9".
That's right.
Yeah, Mario's recommendation.
Gritty New York rapper.
So we always got some more stuff for you. We try to give you a little bit of everything. That's our goal. So stuff you know, stuff you don't know. That's the whole point, right?
Exactly. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, guys. Now, don't forget that you can check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and
SoundCloud,
as well as
Twitter.
And
GSMCpodcast.com. I'm sorry. That was mean of me. But guys, I just want to say I had a really incredible time with this episode. I'm looking real forward to next week. In the meantime, Keith, you want to say those lines?
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all of you, and we will see you somewhere out in space.
Right on.
There you go.